Hey friends, how's it going? My name's Emmanuel. I'm a second year medical student at McGill University. If you're new to the channel, it's nice to meet you. If you're not new to the channel, well, thank you for joining me in another video. So in this video, we're going to talk about some of the do's and don'ts in a medical school interview, whether that's an in-person interview or an online interview. And the reason I'm filming this video at this time is because interview season is right around the corner here in Canada specifically. I know that just yesterday, at the time of filming this video, people were invited to a interview at McGill University. So if you have received an interview invitation, congratulations. This is an incredible step in your journey. It just means that no matter what happens at this point, on paper, you are officially good enough for medical school. And even if you didn't get an interview, does not mean that you're not good enough for medical school. It just means that there's something that's missing in your application, whether that's a better Casper score, whether that's a stronger CV, not necessarily in what you write about, more so on how you write it, that improves the overall strength of your CV, so quality over quantity. Or finally, the obvious one is that it could be a grade issue. Of course, it's very, very competitive. So if your GPA is not within the competitive range, then that could be one of the reasons that you didn't get accepted or invited, at least, for an interview. But nonetheless, I strongly encourage you, if it's your dream and you want to pursue it, don't give up, try again. Remember, it took me 3 times, at least after university, to get into medical school and actually get an interview. On my 3rd time, I didn't get an interview at McGill, at least in the in my first 2 attempts. Anyways, enough about me. Let's get into today's video. So let's start by talking about the do's in a medical school interview. So do number 1 is that you should do your research before attending an interview, whether it's in person or online. What I mean by this is go onto the school's website, or if you are a student at that school, even better, you have a better idea of what the goals and values, the mission statement is of that school, right? So most often or not, you want to, the medical school wants to treat a person with a holistic approach, a full person, patient-centered approach, while using evidence-based medicine. At least at McGill, science at hand, patient at heart. That's the motto. So going into an interview, you need to keep that in mind, because medical school admissions officers, or anyone that's interviewing you, is going to look for those qualities that match the school's mission statement. So you should be familiar with them and keep them in the back of your mind on interview day. Do number 2, this is an obvious one. Please, please, please dress professionally. Do not go into an interview in sweats. Do not go in jeans. You can suit up for an interview. For men in particular, I highly encourage you to fully suit up. Tie, no tie, that's up to you. I decided to wear a tie. For the women, of course, you want to dress professionally. You can wear a blazer as well. If not, a nice top should suffice. I would not wear a mini skirt, keep it appropriate, keep it professional. Because this tells the interviewers that you're taking this interview seriously, right? And this is the general accepted norm of interview taking. You want to dress professional no matter what interview you're going into. Do number 3, this is an important one. Please be on time, okay? If it's online, keep in mind there could be technical issues. You have to make sure your internet connection's stable. Try and do this before interview day. Find a quiet spot. If it's in person, especially now with the winter and the harsh conditions, give yourself some extra time to arrive at the interview location earlier rather than later, because the last thing you want to do is show up late, which shows a lack of professionalism and, realistically, a big red flag on your interview. So do number 4 is maintain eye contact, okay? This is an important one. It shows that you're actively listening to the person that's talking to you, whether that's the interviewer or an actor, right, in a role-playing scenario. So you want to maintain eye contact, super important. I know it's a little difficult online because you can't be staring at the webcam directly at all times, right? Right now, I'm not looking directly at the camera lens, right? If I was, I'd be looking right there. I know it's a little more difficult, and I'm sure, at least McGill told us, that they're reasonable about it, but you don't want to be looking up, at the wall on the side. it could be a little sketchy too that maybe you have some notes written in your room or someone's in the room with you could pose a big problem in an online interview. And in person, you don't want to be looking away from the person that's talking to you. It's, a lack of respect right there. So, super important one. And finally, do number 5 is an obvious one. Be confident, okay? You got an interview. You should be confident. Don't be cocky. Don't be overly confident and go into an interview saying, "Oh, I'm going to crush this medical school interview. I'm so great at interview taking. My interview taking skills are fantastic. I got this. I'm going to get in first try, easy peasy." No, please do not do that. The admissions officers, they're able to see that from a mile away. You don't want a cocky, narcissistic doctor, right? So don't be that person. Even if you are confident in your interview taking skills, it's fine to show that confidence. You want to talk confidently, talk comfortably, as I'm doing right now, but don't go and pretend that you know everything and you're the big shot that's going to ace the interview. Don't be that person. At the same time, don't be that timid individual that's, really shy and is not speaking to their full extent because they're scared that they're going to say something. Or, you really want to bring the best version out of yourself on interview day to maximize your score in each scenario, right? If it's a MMI, or if you're talking one-on-one in a traditional interview or in a panel interview, you're talking to multiple people, you want to display confidence, okay? A doctor has to be confident at the end of the day in the decisions that they make and showcase their leadership abilities when working together in a multidisciplinary health professional team. All right, now let's talk about the don'ts. And the first one is, I guess, specific to an online interview format, and do not choose a distracting background, okay? You want to have a background with a neutral color with not too much going on. Even this background that I'm in right now has a neutral color, right? A couple photo frames in the back. I'm not actually in my room. This is not where I took my interview, even though my interview was online. But again, you don't want too many things. You don't want too many things in the background that could be distracting. Because it's just, again, it's a sign of a little bit of lack of professionalism, lack of respect, a little bit that you're not taking this seriously. So I think the easiest and safest thing to do is, if you can, have a neutral background, neutral color, and just don't have anything going on. Ideally, a white wall behind you is the perfect scenario, right? Don't number 2, no interruptions during the interview. If you're in person, please, if you have your phone on you, shut that phone off. The last thing you want is to get a phone call during your interview and get penalized for it, right? If you're in an online interview, again, you don't want to have your phone close to you. You might want to have your phone close to you in case you run into some technical difficulties and you have to contact someone. But again, keep it off, or at least keep it silent so that it doesn't distract you, and flip it around so it's not, notifications aren't popping of people asking you how your interview is going and you're checking that constantly. Again, that's a red flag. So don't do that. Keep your phone away. So don't number 3, and this kind of ties in with one of the do's that I mentioned. And again, a little more specific to the online interview format, because I know at least McGill is having their interview in an online format. Watch out for your internet connection, okay? If you can have a wired connection, that's always better. Make sure to maybe do a test run with individuals or someone you trust prior to the interview on Zoom or something like that, to make sure that your internet connection is stable and you're not at risk of having a technical problem on interview day. Now, it's not something you should be too worried about because, of course, there are people that are ready to respond in case you run into some technical difficulties. I know at least it was like that for McGill, so I wouldn't be too worried about it if that's the case. But again, you'd rather not have these technical difficulties on interview day. It's obviously a really, really stressful time. So the last thing you want is for your internet to fail, or for you to be lagging in the Zoom session, or for the person that's talking to you to be lagging, right? And you can't get a full feel of what they're trying to tell you, or they can't get a full feel of what you're trying to tell them. Don't number 4, negativity. Do not display negativity on interview day, okay? This can range from you not being confident in yourself, right, like we discussed, but this could also be, for example, you bashing on other people. whether it's a direct, attack or talking negatively about someone in the past, right? If you are asked, let's say a personal question that asks you to talk about a time where you were in a conflict with someone, again, don't focus on why that person was wrong or even why you were wrong per se. Mention that this is it, this is what happened, this was the mistake. What did you learn from it? How did you grow from this experience? That's what they want to see. They want to see resilience, they want to see maturity, they want to see professionalism, right? And one way you can do that is if you made a mistake in the past or you failed at something or I don't know what, you got into a conflict with someone, how did you resolve that conflict? What did you learn from that conflict? And how will this make you a better physician at the end of the day? If you can tie back these scenarios to medicine, right? That's extra bonus point. Interviewers love to see that you're making that connection between your non-medical experiences and how you can tie them into medicine. The qualities that you learn from that experience, how they will make you a better physician in the future. And don't, number 5, do not try to sound overly rehearsed, right? Obviously, going into the interview, there are some classic personal questions that realistically every medical school will ask you, right? Obviously, I can't predict this, but you want to be prepared for the why are you interested in medicine? Why do you want to be a doctor? Why did you choose this school? Tell me about a strength. Tell me about a weakness, right? These are classic personal questions that you can expect to see on interview day, especially in a traditional format. Don't sound overly rehearsed. Don't sound like a robot. Don't be like basically memorizing a script that you wrote and saying it out word for word. I want to go into medicine because I think that I would be great as a physician because blah 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 blah. Like, don't talk like a robot. Be a human. Be a person. Talk with emotion. Talk with passion. Talk with a smile on your face, right? Because if they see that you're associating medicine or whatever experience or your strength or whatever they're asking you about with a positive outcome, right? Even if it's a weakness, like are you working on this weakness? If so, how are you working on it? How is this going to make you a better person? How is this going to make you a better physician? Focusing on the positives is super important. And again, trying to sound more natural, right? Like, I didn't rehearse for this script, right? I wrote down the script, all is great, and now I'm just naturally speaking to the camera, to my audience, right? Because that's what they want to see. They want to see that you're genuine, right? And right now, this is me being genuine. Now, if you think that I'm rehearsing this, well, I'm sorry that I'm giving you that impression, but reality, that's not what's happening here. Those are 5 do's and don'ts for a medical school interview, whether it's at McGill, whether it's in person or online. I know I gave more online tips and tricks, but last year around this time, I did make an interview video, right? So feel free to watch that for some more tips and tricks on how to ace your medical school interview. Obviously, there's some overlap, but there's some stuff that were not mentioned, so might be worth checking out. And obviously, I feel much more comfortable filming and talking to the camera now than I did a year ago, where I might have sounded more rehearsed, believe it or not, right? So it obviously comes with practice. And my last tip to you is to practice, 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 right? You can't wing a medical school interview. Maybe less than 1% of you can, but I would not go into the medical school interview just being yourself, right? That they tell you, oh, don't prepare, just be yourself. We want to see you. Yes, they want to see you, but they want to see the best version of you. And to bring out the best version of you, believe it or not, in an interview format that's less traditional, less formal, you're under stress, it's not as natural, you're not talking to someone that where you can really be yourself, you have to practice. That's the reality. Practice with your friends, practice with your family, practice with other, medical students, aspiring medical students that might have the same interview as you. Usually there's groups on Facebook and stuff like that you can check out, or other, free online resources. I would try and stay away from Reddit and stuff like that. They really scare people. So just focus on practicing and doing the absolute best. And, the most important thing is that you're here now. You've got the interview. And if you don't got the interview, then there's always next year, right? Like I said, I've said this many, many times. If medicine is what you truly want, whether you fail now or you succeed, eventually you're going to succeed. You keep pushing for it. You keep being resilient. You keep persevering. eventually you're going to get what you want. Okay, so that's my last advice to you. I've been rambling on and on and on in this video, so I'm going to leave you with those final thoughts. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, do not hesitate to reach out. I've been through the medical school interview on multiple occasions, and I know it's a very stressful time. So if you need some extra advice, just reach out to me. I'd be happy to help out in whatever way I can, obviously without disclosing information about an interview itself, one that I have done, right? But any tips and tricks, I'd be happy to answer those questions. Okay, so that being said, I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Sorry I've been on a little hiatus. It's been a couple of rough weeks for me, but I'm hoping to continue to make, helpful videos for all of you. And I appreciate you all. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll catch you in the next one.